The trade relationship between the United States and Canada has long been one of close cooperation and mutual benefit. However, recent events have cast a shadow over this vital partnership, igniting a trade war that threatens to have far-reaching consequences. The conflict began with the imposition of tariffs on Canadian goods by former President Donald Trump, a move that sparked immediate backlash and retaliation from America's northern neighbor. In response to the tariffs, British Columbia Premier David Eby announced a bold and controversial plan: the imposition of tolls on commercial trucks traveling from British Columbia to Alaska. This move, targeting a critical artery of trade and transportation, sent shockwaves through the business community and raised concerns about the potential for further escalation. The proposed tolls represent a significant departure from the long-standing tradition of free movement of goods between the two countries, and have been met with a mixture of support and opposition on both sides of the border. The heart of the dispute lies in the differing interpretations of a 1977 treaty that governs the use of the Alaska Highway. This agreement, forged in the spirit of cooperation, has long been seen as a symbol of the enduring bond between the United States and Canada. However, the current trade war has brought to light the complexities of international agreements and the challenges of navigating conflicting national interests. As tensions escalate, the future of this vital trade relationship hangs in the balance, with significant implications for the economies and citizens of both nations. The imposition of tariffs and tolls represents a dangerous escalation in the trade dispute between the United States and Canada. These measures, designed to protect domestic industries and exert economic pressure, threaten to unravel decades of cooperation and shared prosperity. As the two nations grapple with this unprecedented challenge, the world watches with bated breath, hoping for a swift and amicable resolution to this transatlantic trade war. The Alaska Highway, a ribbon of asphalt winding its way through rugged terrain, stands as a testament to the enduring partnership between the United States and Canada. Built in 1942 as a joint wartime effort, this vital artery has long served as a lifeline for Alaska, connecting the geographically isolated state with the rest of the continent. However, the current trade dispute has thrust this iconic highway into the center of a bitter conflict, threatening to sever the vital link it represents. At the heart of the dispute lies the 1977 treaty, an agreement that has long governed the use of the Alaska Highway. This treaty, signed in an era of cooperation and mutual respect, explicitly prohibits the imposition of tolls on vehicles traveling along the highway. However, Premier Eby argues that the treaty's provisions no longer reflect the current reality, citing the need to recoup the costs of recent infrastructure investments. Canada's interpretation of the treaty hinges on the argument that the significant financial burden of maintaining and upgrading the highway justifies the imposition of tolls. They argue that the treaty drafted decades ago could not have foreseen the current volume of traffic or the escalating costs of infrastructure development. Furthermore, Canada contends that the tolls are essential for ensuring the long-term viability of the highway, allowing them to continue providing this vital link for Alaska. The United States, however, maintains that the treaty's language is clear and unambiguous, prohibiting any form of tolls on the Alaska Highway. They argue that Canada's interpretation undermines the spirit of the agreement and sets a dangerous precedent for reinterpreting international treaties for short-term economic gain. As both nations dig in their heels, the fate of the Alaska Highway hangs in the balance, a potent symbol of the fragility of even the strongest of alliances in the face of economic and political pressures. Alaska, the largest state in the United States, is a land of breathtaking beauty and abundant natural resources. However, its geographic isolation, separated from the contiguous United States by vast stretches of Canadian territory, presents unique challenges for its inhabitants. Reliance on Canadian transportation routes, particularly the Alaska Highway, is paramount for the state's economic well-being and the daily lives of its citizens. The Alaska Highway serves as a lifeline for the state, facilitating the flow of essential goods, services, and people. From fresh produce and fuel to construction materials and medical supplies, the highway is a conduit for the necessities that sustain Alaska's communities. The proposed tolls therefore represent a significant threat to the state's economy, potentially disrupting supply chains and driving up the cost of living for Alaskans. Beyond the immediate economic impact, the trade dispute has exposed the vulnerability of Alaska's geographic isolation. The potential for Canada to further restrict access, either through the imposition of additional tolls limitations on the use of the inside passage, or even restrictions on airspace, has raised alarm bells in Alaska. This dependence on Canadian goodwill has highlighted the strategic importance of maintaining strong diplomatic relations and finding a swift resolution to the trade dispute. The trade war has served as a stark reminder of Alaska's unique challenges and its dependence on international cooperation. As tensions simmer, the people of Alaska find themselves caught in the crossfire, their livelihoods and well-being intertwined with the fate of the Alaska Highway and the broader relationship between the United States and Canada. The situation underscores the importance of finding a solution that respects the interests of all parties and ensures the continued flow of essential goods and services to this geographically isolated state. Nestled amidst the breathtaking landscapes of southeastern Alaska, the tiny town of Hyder stands as a poignant example of the human cost of this trade war. Accessible only by road through British Columbia, Hyder is uniquely vulnerable to the escalating tensions between the United States and Canada. The proposed tolls on the Alaska Highway pose an existential threat to this small community, disrupting its lifeline to the outside world and casting a shadow of uncertainty over its future. Hyder's economy is inextricably linked to its Canadian neighbor. Residents rely on the free flow of goods and services across the border, traveling to Stewart, British Columbia, for groceries, fuel, healthcare, and other essentials. The imposition of tolls would sever this vital link, making even the most basic necessities prohibitively expensive and isolating Hyder from the support system it depends on. The threat of isolation has prompted a sense of urgency among Hyder's residents. Stories abound of stockpiling essential supplies, from food and medicine to fuel and building materials, as people brace themselves for the potential consequences of a prolonged trade war. The uncertainty surrounding the future has cast a pall over the town, with many fearing for their livelihoods and the viability of their community. Hyder's plight serves as a stark reminder that international disputes are not merely abstract political battles, but have real-world consequences for ordinary people. The trade war, if it continues to escalate, threatens to turn this once-thriving community into a ghost town, a casualty of the breakdown in relations between two neighboring nations. The situation in Hyder underscores the urgent need for a diplomatic solution that prioritizes the well-being of communities like Hyder, caught in the crosshairs of a conflict not of their own making. The imposition of tariffs and tolls has far-reaching consequences. Businesses face increased costs, which often get passed down to consumers. This can lead to higher prices for everyday goods and services, affecting the standard of living. Moreover, international trade relations can become strained, causing a ripple effect that impacts global economies. In the end, it's not just the businesses, but also the everyday people who bear the brunt of these economic policies. Tariffs and tolls don't just create economic strain, they also foster division. On a national level, industries that rely on imported materials may find themselves at odds with domestic producers who benefit from protectionist policies. Beyond borders, countries may retaliate with their own tariffs, leading to trade wars that can escalate tensions. This divide can hinder cooperation on other critical global issues, making diplomacy more challenging. The delicate balance of global trade is always at risk when tariffs and tolls come into play. Countries that once enjoyed mutually beneficial trade relationships may find themselves in a precarious position. Supply chains can be disrupted, leading to shortages and delays. In an interconnected world, the impact of these disruptions can be felt far and wide, affecting industries from technology to agriculture. It's a complex web, and one small change can have significant repercussions. Despite the challenges, diplomacy remains a crucial tool in resolving trade disputes. Negotiations and dialogues can pave the way for more equitable trade agreements. Countries often seek to find common ground, balancing their economic interests with the need for international cooperation. It's a delicate dance requiring patience and compromise. Ultimately, the goal is to create a more stable and prosperous global economy for all.